Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. So a few people other than me have occasional problems in the yard and the garden that you would like to talk about solutions to. This is going to be fun. This is a topic that Roberta sort of helped come up with because we all face different problems and haven't done it before. So we kind of came up with a number of issues, a number of problems that we hear from people all the time here, but gosh, you know, love to hear about any distinct problems that you would like to talk about as well. Some of the things that I thought I would cover briefly or in depth. One common problem we hear from people is I've got these areas under my trees and no matter what I do, the grass won't grow. Seems to be a fairly common thing. I have people asking occasionally about places where there are so many roots from the trees and things they can't dig a hole to plant. People need instant screening because they thought there was never going to be anybody living next door to them and all of a sudden there is. Or their neighbors that they thought had some class suddenly get the ugliest RV in the world and insist on parking it right on the lot line. Moist areas, you know, people where the condensate comes out from your air conditioner, it stays too wet. Dogs that run paths in your backyard, dogs that get in your flower beds, deer. People who are sitting just on top of rock. And another one that we're hearing more and more from people is it's just so noisy. What am I going to do? I've got so much traffic noise. I know here on Sunset Road it's gotten a lot louder because everybody's driving 60 miles an hour instead of 20 miles an hour. You don't hear cars bouncing as much now that they've got the street fixed, but man, traffic noise sometimes gets pretty heavy. So those are a few of the things that I thought I would address, and then if you have specific problem areas in your landscape, we'll add them to the list and see if perhaps we can help come up with a solution for them. And you know, the noise issue is a fun place to start, and recently had some folks that were over on 410 when they redid part of it and the noise got so much worse. And there are actually two different ways to address noise issues. One of them obviously is with a tall, dense hedge of some sort, because plant leaves are one of the best insulators, one of the things that stops sound, you know, better than just about anything else. And believe it or not, if you have room to do it, even doing 2 rows of things, it gives you a whole lot more than doubling just the reduction in noise. And I don't know if you know how they build rooms when you got 2 rooms side by side that you don't want them to be where you really want to cut down on noise problems. Rather than building one wall, because those studs can carry the radiation, can carry the noise right through from one room into another, it may not be 2 completely different walls, but it'll be 2 slightly offset, you know, studs going up and down with sheetrock on each side. And because there's no continuous, you know, piece of wood that goes through, it reduces the noise factor by just an incredible amount. And you can do the same thing if you're out in the country especially and you have room to do it. Planting 2 different kinds of plants, maybe at slightly different heights, will do a great deal to reduce the amount of noise that you will get through, you know, a hedge like that. Oh, excuse me. But one of the other things that works extremely well is to create a different noise that kind of distracts from, you know, the traffic noise and things like that. And you can do that with fountains of any sort, any kind of water that makes noise. You know, I see this when the water is running in my part of the world, and my creek's largely dry now with all the drought in the hill country. But I've done the same thing on Roberta, my business partner's ranch. And you can have a lot of noise up on one of the roads that goes by. But if you get down close to one of the creeks, just the sound of that running water just totally muffles and gets rid of the other sounds that you've been, you know, finding to be somewhat irritating. And if you want to choose a fountain that gives you the maximum amount of sound, now again, remember, if you run them all night, you're going to have sound day and night, but you know, if you would just want to have something you turn on when you're outside. But the most effective of fountains, or water features I should say, at producing sound actually create what we call an echo chamber. If you're actually building a water feature, you know, in your yard, let's say, and let's say you want to put a little waterfall or something like that, toward the base of it, you have a rock or something that projects out where the water goes down like this, and you've got a hole or a cavity back behind it. Believe it or not, that can triple or quadruple the amount of sound that comes out of that water feature, because it does indeed act as an echo chamber. You look at the same thing, and as you know, we have a lot of different fountains and things like that. And the fountains that simply come out of the top and splash down, yeah, those things make some nice noise. But if you have something that actually, like the big bowls that have kind of a platform and the water runs off the edge, listen to them and you will be amazed at how much more sound you get out of those. And it's a basic pattern of creating an echo chamber. And if you say, well gosh, I just can't really enjoy sitting out on my patio as much because of the noise, whether it's from the neighbors or whether it's from traffic or anything like that, consider putting a fountain or a water feature out there, and you would be amazed at how that sound will totally distract from the more annoying noises that you're listening to. And that's going to be more and more of a problem as our houses get smaller and closer together and traffic gets busier and noisier and things. So that's one of the problems we talked about and one of the solutions to it. Interesting solution. I'm amazed at how many people don't plant simply because underneath their trees. Oh, yes. Oh. Yes, sorry. Oh, come on, guys.
We're trying to tell you what's
Not a
going on.
disruption.
There is another way.
Before you get off the fountains, can I just ask?
Oh, sure.
How do we address the issue of water use with fountains?
Fountains, recirculating fountains obviously use a little bit more water than just a still pond, something that actually has moving water. But as far as a pond in the landscape, a pond takes less water than an equivalent amount of grass does. And recirculating fountains really don't use that much water. The only water, or the only features that we really should stay away from, and I can't imagine anybody putting a fountain in that doesn't recirculate the water, but there are some of them out there. But you're using probably less water than you would use for an existing amount of grass. So I don't feel like water features really are at all unconservative.
Don't you get quite a bit of evaporative loss though when it's dry and hot like we?
You get some evaporative loss, but you really don't get as much as what we called evapotranspiration that comes out of the plants. Plants tend to lose moisture out through their leaves and actually lose water at a faster rate than an equivalent water body evaporates the water off. So sure, if you had concrete you wouldn't be losing as much water, but let's don't go that route. But a well-designed water feature, especially if it's in a shady area, you'd be amazed. They just really don't use that much water. I look at our features and things here at the nursery and how often we have to refill them, and the majority of these things, they'll go for a week or longer before we have to put another quart of water into them. And I'm always amazed, and I'm just poking a little bit of fun, but all these people that are doing everything in their yard that they possibly can to conserve water, and then they're taking a 30-minute shower. Guess what? We've all got choices about how we use our water, and I think that a well-designed water feature is not at all unreasonable to have in your yard. And that kind of leads to
Bob,
something else I want to mention. Yes, sir.
Another benefit of the water feature is it's a great bird attractant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They just love the sound of water. They just draw.
Well, they love the sound of the water, but they love to come bathe in it and play in it and drink from it. They can be quite entertaining. And yes, I agree, it's another real good reason to have a water feature. It's for the birds and for the other wildlife as well. Now, I'm no great lover of raccoons and bushy-tailed tree rats, that some of y'all call squirrels, but again, they need their water too, and a water feature certainly will help provide that. Other sources of water though, and you would just be amazed, most people tend to keep their houses pretty cool in the summertime, and you've got your air conditioner runs quite a lot of the time. Have you ever paid attention to how much water comes out of that condensate line that comes out of your air conditioning system? And I know, you want to be careful that your system's clean and condensate water is clean, but what I have done, and I keep my house relatively warm and only half of it, has central air, but I'm amazed at how much water comes out of that little drip that's out there next to it.